listening to Living with ADHD and CPTSD, available on Apple and wherever you get your podcasts. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Living with ADHD and CPTSD. Today we have a CPTSD episode and I have a special guest on my show. His name is Edward Ma. He lives out in Nova Scotia and he is a software developer, but he also volunteers as a first responder in the ambulance as, well, you all know what that is. He is an advocate for mental health and wants to end the stigma on it by sharing his story of trauma and healing. Well, thank you, Edward, for coming up on the show, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't we get into this by discussing your own story? You can talk about it and share whatever you like as to what happened and what you've been through.
Yeah, my story is that I'm a survivor of childhood trauma. My background is, Chinese Canadian, and just growing up, there's a lot of cultural things that are, I would say, is normal in that culture, but at the same time, it's also once I immigrated to Canada when I was 12, and I noticed the differences between how my friend's parents react to certain situation versus how my parents react. There's a bit of disconnect there, and that is when I noticed there's not necessarily wrong with how my parents do things, it's just different. And for example, I noticed my friend's parents did something that make his brother upset, and later on, his mother apologized for it, and I'm just like, whoa. My parents would never apologize for anything. I remember years ago, and I kind of confronted my mom about, just how some of the stuff that happened to me was really damaging to my mental health. And she basically told me that, well, that's just the culture. And at that point, I was like, oh man, this is not a good spot that I want to be in. There's certain aspect of the Chinese culture that I do love, but at the same time, they're part of it that I just don't want to be a part of, and that is definitely one of them when it tends to push away mental health stuff, or the after that don't. I don't know where for maybe just I don't know if it's ignorance or it's just they don't want to take responsibility because they don't want to. They cannot be as a parent. They're not allowed to be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. Have you ever wondered possibly if, in the time and the age they grew up in before they came to Canada had any influence on that? Because I know that, well, we all know that China has had a certain way of life and ruling for at least, I think, probably since the 50s or even earlier. I can't remember for sure, but I know that their way of life's been really kind of controlled to some degree as compared to Canada, who is a democratic country. So do you think that there's some influence there on how they were raised and on their beliefs and?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. My parents actually. So I'm originally from Hong Kong before China before Hong Kong was returned back to China. So for my parents' background, they actually escaped from the Communist Revolution in China when it happened. So I think they were there during the revolutions, and then they escaped maybe a couple of years afterwards. So they basically moved to Hong Kong to escape communist China, and then there was an incident in China in about 1989 in the Tiananmen Square, and that kind of set up my journey to move to Canada because my parent doesn't want me to go through, my brother and I, to go through what they went through. So we moved to Canada for a better life. And I completely love and respect my parents for that. And I understand why they push academics so much, that because they struggle through life without a higher education. And they don't want my brother and I to go for the same thing. At the same time, I feel that because they push that so much that they completely neglect how I feel, certain things that they just push and push and push. Like they would compare my friend and I, like, oh, your friend are doing so much better academic. Look at this guy's doing so much better academic, which make me feel like then it make me feel like I'm not good enough because I can only do so much, right? Like I like my IQ, I guess, we can only do certain things. Like everyone's built differently and we learn differently, but because the way they push it actually make my self-esteem kind of, it give me low self-esteem. Like I never see myself good enough in their eyes, and then that kind of made me, I think over time I kind of resent them for a little bit. When I was younger, I just really mad at them for pushing me so much that I went to university way after I graduated from high school, even though I told them that I like to take a year. Just gotta figure myself out because university is a lot of money. I don't want to go in there and fail and then end up with like $10,000 to $20,000 in debt. But because I want to make them happy, I did it anyways, and I had a major mental breakdown 2 years afterwards because I just wasn't doing well in university because I think that I wasn't mature enough. I just wasn't ready. But because I was doing it for their sake, I just had a complete breakdown. I actually end up not doing anything for the year afterwards. I just played all I did was escape into MMORPG for a whole year. I just escaped. I just completely ignored my real life. I would you got like, and after that year, I realized I have I think because of the trauma they have actually caused me, or given me, that I have a bit of an addiction personality. Like I can get addicted to stuff that make me escape, and video game stuff in one of them.
Right.
Because they were asking, "Oh, you looking for a job?" I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for a job, but I've been playing games like 8 hours a day just to deal my real life because my real life was so terrible that. And then basically after that, I think I spent maybe another 5 or 6 years trying to rebuild myself. I moved out from my parents' house, went to stay with a very lovely woman that had become almost like a surrogate mom to me, and then she kind of helped me with that along with therapy, and really try to understand. Really try to understand my trauma and how to cope with it. Because I'm at the point now I realize that I don't think I can ever fully heal from it. I just need to learn not to let it overtake my life, because I find myself that sometimes when I'm triggered so bad that just everything, I seem to be ignoring everything. I become, like I told my therapist recently, that like right now I'm in survival. I'm not in living. I'm just trying to go by day. I'm not trying to get better. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't collapse or regress.
Yeah, absolutely. So how, when you were with this person, this woman at her place, I guess what I'm trying to say is, how easy or difficult was it to find a therapist that was right for you? Because I know that there's a good therapist, and there's ones that often can make it worse because their methods aren't correct. So what was the journey towards finding the therapist that was right?
I have a new one. I just started with a new one recently. The first two was from, I found them through affordabletherapy.com, I believe. So because I wasn't making enough money to actually afford a better one, so I just found one that kind of I can able just enough to help me with some positive coping mechanism. So we talk a lot about positive self-talk and a bit of inner child work. And with my recent job, because I got a bit of a pay raise, I realized that I can actually find someone that's. So my recent one, I make sure that she's trauma informed. to understand like family dynamics. And
Excellent.
so, I mean, the new one is great. I mean, she definitely worth the price I'm paying for, and
Yeah, for sure.
just that she understand like what's going on. Like I can actually talk to her and she can explain that. And because of the work I have done and the self awareness that I do have, that really helps. Like I know what's wrong. Like I told her,
Yeah.
I just don't know how to make it better. Like I know I'm being triggered by these recent changes. I know I'm doing all the things that just how I used to do things, and I know it's not good for me. But I just don't know. Like I cannot. The way I describe it is like I have an inner child. I name it the little boy. The little boy is taking over right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to talk to him to make it more bearable, because at the same time I don't want to ignore my inner child feelings. So I'm just trying to like at the same time I don't want it to take over me when I just cannot really function anymore.
Okay. I totally understand. I get this. Okay. Yeah. It sounds like you definitely have a good advantage, because there's a lot of people. The one thing when you said that you're aware of it, like your self-awareness is strong, which is where a lot of people with trauma, they have a tendency to struggle with self-awareness, because they deal with a lot of emotional dysregulation, and when they're triggered, they're often, like you said, your inner part, or that child. You often can get blended with that child, so you're feeling his fears and his thoughts, and they're mixing with yours. So it feels like he's like thinking that he's there now, or he's there in real time. But the fact that you have that good self-awareness, that's advantageous, because it allows you to be completely aware that he's there, and that he's feeling this way, or you're getting all these feelings and emotions, and the relapse, or the re-traumatizing feeling from that, and that's excellent. Well, obviously not the experiencing, of course, but the fact that you're aware of this is a good key step, because a lot of people struggle with that for a while when they're trying to do their work and their processing with their therapist.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
I mean, at the beginning, sorry.
Yeah.
No, at the beginning of it, the way I describe it, sometime when my emotional self or the little boy is taking over, that I don't really see myself in a clear light, and then if I'm lucky, I want to call a moment of clarity that I can kind of like take myself out of the equation and kind of look at myself like I look at, like if you were, or one of my friends was talking to me about what's going on, same situation, I'd be like, oh wait a minute, this is your emotional self that's taking over. Then I do a quick mental note. And, okay, so how do I talk to my emotional self? Like how will I talk to my friend if they're doing this? And sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it's when I kind of make another mental note, and I'm like, okay, I need to talk to my therapist about this, because I don't know what to say. I don't know how to reassure my inner child so that you understand that it's like when you feel, you just feel so much. Like I either feel too much, or I don't feel enough. Like I kind of, when I do feel too much, like everything just feel overwhelming. And then, sometimes I get to the point where I kind of shut down, like emotionally. I let my body, my brain, okay, enough of this. Just, I'm like, I just become numb, and
you're dissociating away to help avoid that strong feeling that you're having.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what kind of exercises had the therapist been working on with you? Like
the new one, she does this almost like a body and mind kind of thing. She kind of, she almost like meditation, almost like a guided meditation. But she kind of described, think of a place where you feel like the last time you feel really relaxed. Okay, think of that place. now focus on where your tension is in your body. Focus on that. And then I think the last one was like, I thought that I'm imagining that myself, I'm on water. Last time I was, because I've been trying to learn to swim.
Yeah.
And I was able to flow. And I remember feeling just flowing in the water and just how freeing it was. And I mentioned that. It's like, okay, now mention you're on a river. You just cast all your trouble down the river. And I'm just gonna imagine that. And if that doesn't work, then it's like, okay, now imagine, you're next to your inner child, what does your inner child want? I'm like, oh, I think right now he just want to be hugged. So she's like, okay, why don't you grab a pillow and pretend you're hugging your inner child and try to reassure him that, that he'll be okay. I know this is hard. You don't really push away the feeling, but you just almost more reassurance and just talk to him like a kid that's going through stuff. You don't berate him. You just reassure him that it's just hard. I understand, but you also reassure him that the biggest self, me, are here to take care of it. Like, we are doing our best, and I know you're feeling really. There's a lot of fear on what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just remind him, the stuff that we've gone through before, and this is just another step that we can't go through it.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, based on everything that you said and just thinking it back to like what I've read and my own information, it definitely sounds like that therapist is on the right track.
Yeah.
He's doing, or is it a man or a woman?
It's a woman.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't want to say he or she before I knew.
Yeah.
She's using a well practiced form of therapy. Like the method is definitely working. Like it will, and over time it will be easier. And because what they're doing, what she's trying to do is because you've got the way it's been set up is, and the understanding is that you have this inner child or this child part that's a certain age, right? And your brain's neurological development, like it's kind of like your memories and your thoughts and your personality are in this area, and then the child's own memories and thoughts and his fears and time are in a different location. And the idea is that she wants to, when you're talking to it and you're reassuring it and you're telling him that it's okay, everything's like you're it's kind of like being a parent to being a parent to a child.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a reparenting.
Yeah, and as you're doing this day after day, or when you're feeling that overwhelmed, triggered feeling, or if you just have a moment and you want to talk to that inner child, it's like every time that you're doing that, you're kind of gaining that part's trust, that it's seeing for himself more and more that's true. It is a different time, that you're feeling that you are safe, that part's safe, and then the neural integration between the two you start to get more and more, and they say eventually, after a period of time of doing this processing with that part, is that it'll be easier for that part to see the time, like the in time, instead of it thinking that it's that whatever age, right? Like if it's a 12-year-old kid or part, it's thinking it's 12, or it believes that the two of you together are the same age. And yeah, like she's definitely on the right path, and I totally see where she's going with this, and it's definitely a workable process, and it sounds like she is the right therapist for what you're dealing with. It's like,
she's been great. No, she's been great. I mean, because recently I have a big change event in my life that I know I went last time, no, even I've been in session before, she wanted to do this thing called, like, some kind of like frame freeze. But she asked me if I want to do that or do a check-in. But because I've been struggling so much that I said, no, I recently had to go back to my parents because of financial issues. And that's a whole bit different ballgame. So for the time being, there'll be a lot of indie child work because I left that place 10 years ago. And I mean, this is just a short-term stay, maybe for at least 2 years. But because of all the memories that was flooding back from years ago, part of me just like, oh no, I'm going back. This place is not healthy for me. Then, talking to her, she's like, it's not the same place. It is, I mean, physically it's the same place, but emotionally I have much more tools in my toolkit to handle it.
Absolutely.
And she almost have to remind me that, when you're feeling this way, make sure that, you talk to your inner child. Don't neglect those feelings. Just remind him that you're not in a different place. You're in the same place, but also same place physically, but emotionally, I'm in a different place. I have more boundaries set in now. Like I'm learning how to set my boundaries so that my parents doesn't quote unquote get under my skin because they are the way they are. I have kind of accepted that my parents will never change. I try to make them understand that was a waste of time, basically. So I'm never
right.
My old roommate, she's like, well, maybe they change. I'm like, no, my parents they would never change. Like I know those people pretty well. Some people would change, but some people they are quote unquote stuck in their ways, and my parents are definitely one of them. So she's like, how do you know?
Absolutely.
She's like, I'm like, because before I moved in with you, I tried for 6 years try to mend this relationship, and I realized that I wasted 6 years of my life. So I'm just gonna, I accepted the fact that in most part, I'm on my own, my feeling. And because of Twitter, really, that I'm almost blessed in a way that I have friends on Twitter that have similar family dynamics and I do. We can kind of talk to each other as peers that we can say, like, oh, my mom do this. She's like, you know what? My mom does the same thing. It's like, isn't it ridiculous? Like, yeah. Like, you just get mad for no reason. I'm like, I know. Like, they're acting like a child. We are more mature than they are.
That's almost, like, no kidding.
It's just like, I think because all the healing work I did, recently my parents are bigger. I'm just like, they're bigger like children. Like I watch my friends kid, like they bigger like children. I'm just like, oh man. I was like, how the table has turned. Just like,
absolutely. I know. Yeah. It is amazing how when you find people who are going through the same thing, it can be helpful in so many ways. That's absolutely true. But yeah, like you figured it out on your own. You know, you have to just look after yourself. You know that you set your boundaries. You know, you're much better positioned to look after yourself and take care of that inner child, like you said, so that if someday if something does occur, you're going to be better prepared to handle it and to not become triggered, you know, like and have a re-traumatizing experience that which is why you're here in the first place. Like it is that's a lot of work, and you know.
It is. I almost accept the fact that I'll probably be in, and I mentioned that on Twitter many times, that I would definitely be doing therapy for the rest of my life, because there's so many layers. And like when I first started with my new therapist, I was still at the old house and I was doing well. You know, I was working on some other stuff, and then when the house was sold, I'm like, part of my logical self, like, oh no, this is a new trigger. My emotional self, like, oh no, this is bad. You know, I lost my home. I lost a place that I feel safe in. Like, it's like, what am I gonna do? Like, where can I get this place back? So then,
I know
So I'm like,
that can be
yeah,
extremely traumatizing
yeah.
if
So I took my
yeah.
friend like, oh look, I said, oh look, a new trigger to work with, hooray! I was like,
Yeah.
my friends like, you might be, they're like, oh, you might be depressed, but you still got a sense of humor. I was like, you know what they say? What doesn't kill you, give you trauma in a wicked sense of humor. Kind of have to roll with it a little bit, right?
Nice. Yeah, for sure. That's quite that's quite amazing. It's like a blessing that you have such a good self-awareness because I'm trying to think of where you would be if that wasn't something that you had. Like if that wasn't your strength, like, it'd be
Yeah,
interesting to know where you'd be, because that's so helpful, because the fact that you're able to see and notice these things and feel it, like I said, you're steps ahead of a lot of people, and it seems to
yeah.
be a little easier.
I almost want to say it's almost like a should I say trauma response, like just like the over analyzation of everything. And I tend to like
Hmm.
analyze myself quite a bit, especially
Yeah.
like when I'm not like completely getting sucked in by my emotional self. That I can be like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like I know I can see the problem. And a lot of times I just don't know how to fix it or like
Yeah.
make it better. And that's the challenge. And that's when I first started seeing the therapy, because I reached to a point of trying to help myself that I'm stuck at this moment that I'm feeling all of this. I just don't know how to reassure myself. And that's when
Okay.
started find my first therapist. And I basically went in. I think my first therapist didn't expect me to go in to just be like, "This is my problem. This is what's going on. I just don't know how to fix it." And she's like, "Oh, okay." Because usually, I think a lot of times therapists have to dig in a little bit. And with the last two, I found that they don't dig enough. So when I come to the new one, I'm like, listen, I want to work on my self esteem, because I have a lot of because of the trauma. I have relationship issues. I have anger
Right.
issues, and I feel like all of that is all based on self esteem. If my self esteem is better, I can manage my anger. I can actually not be afraid of creating relationship, knowing that, because like my relationship dynamics with my parents have really, what's the word I'm trying to look like, really kind of make me think that relationship is, to me, relationship is a partnership. But
Yeah.
my fear is that if I'm being vulnerable and the person is not being receptive now, reciprocate, then I don't want that imbalance in relationship, right? I want to be able to communicate with somebody that also want willing to communicate it back, so we can have a clear understanding. But I think most of it
Uh-huh.
just being vulnerable. I think most of it just being vulnerable and not be afraid of getting hurt by it, because
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest one that I don't like.
Yeah.
I told my friend that like I only have a few close friends in my life that actually know the complete like the like, if you see me as a puzzle, like all my other friends, they don't see a puzzle, like a piece of me, who I am. But
Right.
there's only really two people that actually completely understand, okay, this is the full picture of Edward. Like he's this, he also this, he's very supportive. They also have trauma, he also have like self-esteem issues, etc., etc., etc.
Hmm.
Like my biker friend only see him as a fun guy and like good sense of humor, but they don't see the self-esteem part, the inner child, and etc., etc., right? And all
Yeah.
of that really just to protect myself from being hurt. So when I have close friends that like distant from me, like immediately my friends like my brain's oh no, I gotta cut them off. Like they're almost like a liability now. They can hurt me. Like are they hurting me, or they just busy with real life? And
Makes sense.
that's the hard part for me. That understand that people have
Yeah.
people have a life. They so,
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, your inner child's showing concern and care and is worried because, like, yeah, and you probably already are aware of that, is that they see everybody and new people as potential threats,
yeah,
and things have to be perfect for them to feel safe, because you know it doesn't take very much for them to feel like, oh no, we're in a bad spot again. We're not in a safe place. You know,
Yeah.
It's so easy for that to reoccur. So yeah, I can totally see how that fits in there. Have you now? I don't obviously know the details of what your therapist's going through, but has she ever talked about like 4-step processing when it comes to dealing with your parts, like with that inner child and communicating with it?
No, not that I can think of.
Okay.
Yeah, just mostly just mostly just really just almost like I think more like body and mind and inner child work that what basically what I've been doing. Just like
Okay.
helping the child feel where the tension is, where the pain is in your body, like where the stress is, and then
Yeah. Right. Okay. The reason I was asking is that there's a process out there that you can do both when if you're in a triggered state and if
mm-hmm,
you're in a calm state where you're feeling good about yourself and you can actually bring it up and you can expose that inner child to the good experiences that you're having.
yeah,
And they say that it's a very helpful 4-step where you talk, you actually like have a conversation with them, with that part where
mm-hmm,
that child, and you go and you're sitting there and you're saying to it, like you're asking what it's experiencing, how it's feeling, right?
mm,
And then you basically you let it say what it has to say, and then you try to get as much from it as you can, and then the next step is to like acknowledge it and
yeah,
to like make it feel good, like like you're saying thank you for showing me or telling me what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, and I'm sorry that you're feeling like scared or that this is scary for you. So you're like listening to it and acknowledging it, and then after that it's like you're kind of your work, right? Like
mm-hmm,
you want to you want to show it that this is like, okay, here it is, like I'm here now, it's October 9th, 2022, and you're in control. You're no longer under threat. Like you're trying to show it the today, and you're trying to give it like a brief taste and exposure to the present time, and it's over time, because this is repeatingly, like you're not doing this once and all of a sudden it changes
mm,
it's how it feels and how it believes, but you're gaining its trust, and you're telling, and it's like, because it has to trust you and feel safe with you, and then it slowly begins to feel like it's not in danger anymore, and that's how it works, and this is multiple times. So you do
yeah,
this day after day, and you process, and you talk to it and you process with it, and over that time it like I said, it learns to trust you and feel that it's safe, and that it
mm,
doesn't, it eventually says to itself, okay, I no longer have to get triggered. I don't feel scared anymore, because I now know that I am safe. This adult version, this person here can protect me and keep me safe, and it won't. That, like, your eventual goal is the next time that a trigger feeling occurs, that you're going to be able to step up and go, it's okay, we're good, we're safe. I'm in control. Everything's all right. And then you kind of like, you give it like a you show it, right? Like you say to yourself, here, look, we're okay. I'm not in danger. No one's going to hurt us. And this is how it heals that part. And then eventually it's at the stage where if you do get a trigger, you can handle it without having that fear and that overwhelming feeling and that anxiety. You can feel calm that entire time, and then it's over, and then you just go, we're good. and it's a process, and it takes time, but it works. And she's doing, it looks like she's doing a lot of that. And the steps that you're working on are very, very similar. And I'm sure she would, if you ever mention that to her, she would probably go, yeah, I get that. I see that. But that's how you communicate to it. And that's how you help it, because it's looking for direction. It's looking for someone to protect it and make that child feel safe. And it's just like meeting a new person. You're not going to trust that person right away. You gain their trust. She gains your trust, and you gain their trust by interacting and by just doing ordinary activities. And it's the same theory. It's just that you're protecting the child, and that child sees that, hey, I have someone that I can actually trust and feel safe around. And then it over that period, eventually, you're like one person. And
that's what I never thought of that, because like I feel like I don't really talk to my inner child when I'm being triggered. I never thought about talking to them even when I'm on the bike. People, hey, isn't this fun? Look at this turn that's coming up. Look at this scenery. Isn't it beautiful? Yeah,
exactly.
That makes a lot of sense, because it is a relationship with your inner self. And I often talk about that the most important relationship is the one with yourself. And I guess for me with my relationship with my inner child, we need to learn to find out like what he likes and dislike, and then really go with that. And that makes I never thought about it. Thank you for mentioning it.
Absolutely. Think of it like being out with, like, you're out with a 6-year-old child at the park or at the beach, and you're interacting, and you're both having fun, and they're maybe a little nervous about the water, right? And
you're showing them that it's not.
And then they eventually all of a sudden they go, wow, this is so fun. And then next thing you know, they're playing, and they're not scared anymore. It's the same kind of deal.
That reminds me how much I enjoy like playing with children, because I feel like I can actually be my childhood self and just be like, oh look, I'm playing with a child. I'm an adult by my inside. I'm just like, oh, this is great. They're having fun. I'm having fun, and just
it's the same kind of idea. It's just now they're gonna feel safe in situations that in the past were triggering or scary, right? And that's the goal, is to them to believe and trust that everything's fine, that you are safe, and that no harm's gonna come to them.
I feel like eventually Kelly, that's my therapist name. I think eventually with Kelly, I think we'll probably end up going to that point. I think she just kind of built me up to it right now, just because like sometimes I'll like when I'm being triggered, I would like, the way I describe it, like before my trigger like kind of suck me in, I can kind of be okay, I gotta talk to my inner child, I gotta reassure him. Right.
Well, you're kind of already doing it if you think about it. I guess as she mentioned, like grounding techniques to calm yourself down, like, to kind of come down.
I think
there's lots of that.
I think the first resection to ask me like, what is the stuff that I find that make me feel, I think the word's like more free or more relaxed. I mentioned like, riding my motorcycle make me feel free, because I cannot really think about anything on a bike. That in itself, because I have to focus on the present. So she mentioned that. So try. She's like, try to think of the feeling when you just, even at home, just that feeling on the motorcycle, that the feeling of being free, being in the present. Just focus on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, see, a way you could expand on that, and that's great, honestly. A way you could expand on that is when you're riding it, there's a 5 senses grounding technique.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of hard on a motorbike to do all 5, because you do have to concentrate, obviously, but like you could do the feeling, the touch one. Yeah, because you could do the physical part. Like what she's saying, you feel yourself on the motorcycle. Like you could identify with yourself. How does this? What am I feeling on the motorcycle? How does it feel on my legs or on my hand? You know, like and you use that, and then you could like notice what kind of sounds are you hearing. Besides the motorcycle, and then. You know, like, or you're feeling the wind and the air and or the like, and the sense, like the sights that you're seeing. You could all that could be used to like ground yourself into that calm state, so that you become unblended, and then you can do the processing, or you could properly talk to your inner child as an adult rather than being in a triggered state. That's a way of doing that.
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
Yeah, there's all sorts of ways. Like,
I know. I feel like the more I learn about trauma and like different ways of people do things, just the more like I'm like, wow, there's so many different ways to like solve one issues, right? And it's
absolutely,
and it's good because sometimes one tool will work for this situation, but it doesn't work for another situation. So it's good to have different tools in your toolkit that you can pull out at those situations.
Absolutely. It can be overwhelming. It can definitely be overwhelming because it's experiences and feelings within that. If you're not sure or you don't know and you don't understand what is going on, it can be so fast and it can take over so quickly. And we need to identify ways to pull ourselves away and to ground and to feel calm and to separate ourselves from that inner child, like that part, because that's the whole point, is that when we're getting triggered, it's like that part is becoming you and you're becoming that part. So you're feeling the feelings that they're feeling, and the first step is to pull away so that you can see everything from an adult point of view.
Yeah.
And then you can help that inner child to feel safe and to know that everything's okay. So
I find it like with recent event, I think because recent event because it's a new trigger.
Yeah.
I almost by the time I realized it, I feel like it's almost too late to kind of pull myself in, because I'm already sucked into the vortex of that emotion. Like I'm already in it now. It's just
right.
It almost take another person to kind of talk me into it. Be like, oh, this is, I understand what's going on. I feel the same way. And then I feel like that reinsurance half the time that someone actually get it, actually be able to pull me back a little bit, because now that the inner child know that they're not alone in that feeling, and when he calmed down, I can be like, okay, this is. Then I can be like, okay, this person understands, and so do I. And I understand. So you have two people that understand what's going on.
Yeah. That's an excellent way of saying, explaining it. That's really good. Absolutely. It does sound like for a lot of it, you do have a good grasp on what is happening, and that obviously the therapists, their job is to help show you the ways to do the healing, because a lot of times it's difficult for us, because if things are extremely overwhelming and you're feeling a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress, it can be difficult to step away and to just stop it.
Oh yeah,
and
it's almost impossible, really. Like when I find this state, I'm so overwhelmed by that, by like how he feels, that I just cannot. I can't even think straight. Like I'm just like I feel like I mean before my last therapy appointment, I feel like I'm just trying to. Okay, this is going on. I just gotta, pass this hour or this day, and then tomorrow we deal with it again, and just going until, I'll reach out to my friends that I know that can have similar situation and hope that they know some technique. Like my friend Wendy taught me like sound smoothing, pretend like you have a hug, like rub your arm, pretend that
Mm-hmm.
you're hugging inner child, just
Yeah.
say positive things, and
Yeah.
then I tried that a couple of days or before my last therapy appointment, and I was like, okay, William, remember this thing? Let's try this one. I was like, okay, I'm okay. I know you're
Right.
triggered. I know, mom is coming back. It might be a hard, but and then just kind of, we've done this before. It'll be okay. We know how to deal with her, her behavior, and
Yeah.
we can shut the door, tell her that we're working on the computer, even though we're not. That just she can just not to bother us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The key is for your parts to like that inner child to feel safe. Like
Yeah.
that's even on a day to day, like when you're just going about, there are things, activities that you
Mm-hmm.
will do that part, or that inner child might
Yeah.
feel anxious about, and a lot of times you have to check in with that inner child and see, is this a good feeling, is this safe, is this, like, because if you do something against, like, if that child says this isn't right, this is bad,
Mm,
this is scary, and you just like say, well, whatever, I'm gonna do it.
yeah.
If you get triggered, that part is, it's like he's gonna say, see, I told you.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna go, well, okay, now we've just taken a step back. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times you have to check in with them and see if it's okay, like, because then that's another part of gaining their trust and growing closer with them, is they're concerned, right? And
Yeah.
you can talk to them and say, this is a good thing. I'm gonna keep us safe. We're okay. Like, we're not in danger. We're not gonna do anything that's potentially harmful. And
Yeah.
then the part that child will go, okay, yeah, all right,
Mm,
that's good. And then when you're doing the activity, you're actually showing it in real time that indeed this is a good thing. This is safe. This is exciting, fun. And the part goes, wow, you're right. And
yeah.
then that next time it will be a lot easier to do that without having to really interact with it too much, because it'll already feel safe.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a really good point, because
Yeah.
I feel like in most part I tend to do that already.
Hmm.
Just when it comes to new trigger, I find it really hard to do, because when it's a new situation that I've never dealt with before, able to
Yeah.
kind of pull myself back, be like, okay, this is new, so let's almost like relax a little bit. Let's look at the full picture and all
Hmm.
options and what's the best way. I think what's it, my first therapist, I described almost like my logical self and my emotion. They almost have to like debate and make and like discuss about this whole situation and then make an agreement that what we should do that. So the logical self is happy, and then the emotional self is like, okay, yeah, this will work. I feel good about this situation,
Yeah.
or the
Yeah. See,
solution that you came
that's
up with.
exactly, and that's what you're doing basically. Yeah, is you're you're showing that inner child that this is good. This is
Mm,
that you're okay, and it's not in harm's way. And yeah, you're building a relationship with it, with that child. So you are doing the right. It is the right thing by, and it seems like you're automatically taking that step. Yeah, just sitting back, or taking a step back and having that conversation and saying, you're feeling that, you can feel that uneasiness, or that
mm,
anxiety, or that anxious feeling, because it's new and it's a little scary, and they're the ones that are feeling it, and
mm-hmm.
it's coming and blending in with you. And yeah, you're having that conversation with it, saying, we're okay. I understand that you're feeling scared. Yeah, it's I can see how this is going to be scary, and then you're telling them, this is okay. It's a safe location. I'm with people that I know, that I
Mm-hmm.
feel safe with, and it will, it will believe you, and it will trust you, and then it you're showing it. Yeah, see, like this is good, and yeah, that's the whole process of building that, and then that's the work towards.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there's so much work, so much work.
it is. It is. Unfortunately,
that's the thing that. Uh, yeah, I'm almost glad that like I just accepted that I need therapy for the rest of my life, because I think before that acceptance, I'll probably constantly fight against it, because like there's no quote unquote cure. Almost, there might be a moment of really good, but then I feel like I'm at a point now where there's always something to work on, because there's so many layers of this trauma, right? Like I'm when it was one trauma, then another new aspect of it, that then when that came up, I'm like, okay, this is new. Now we've got to work on this, and then eventually, like I told Kelly, my eventual goal just be able to like look at myself in the mirror, be like, and just be content with who I am, and not see myself as this this damaged person with all these issues. Right? I'd be looking at myself, be like, okay, this is Edward, and I like this person. I like this, and even with all the struggles that this person's going through, I like him.
That's good.
Yeah, but that's very much a goal, because I mean, sometimes I'm there, and sometimes like right now, I'm just like I'm like, I don't like this person. This person is going through this, and I don't like all this feelings. But I just want to be able to look at myself and just be like, yeah, this is a bad situation. That's okay. We can deal with it. We have done this before.
Exactly.
And we have friends, and we have our therapists to guide us out of it. It's not a permanent situation. It's just temporary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's really my biggest goal right now. And I hope we able to share people that, because I think a lot of times people see people like me in therapy, like my old roommate, think, oh, she's like, oh, you've been with me for 10 years. You learn all this problem. I don't know what issues. I'm like, this is a whole new different situation. Like I went from a good place. I went from a bad place to a good place, and now I'm going back to a bad place. This is a whole different ballgame. This is not what I wanted to do. I mean, the situation forced me to do it, and I understand my end goal is, but my inner child is not happy that we have to go back there.
Right. Well, you could look at it in this way: is this could be a real good opportunity to strengthen the relationship with that part. Yeah. So when the time comes in a couple of years that you're able to go, back out and head in place and be free, that you're gonna be so much stronger, and it'll be a big breakthrough in a way, if you think it, when you look at it, because
I never thought that way.
Go, hey, this worked.
I mean, eventually get there. I think you're right in that if I can deal with this and I can able to go through with it and become stronger, that actually helped me in the long run, because it actually built. I often say that struggle build characters, even though I don't like struggling, but struggle does build character. And this, I had to see it that way. That yes, I'm struggling, but at the same time, I also lived with them for like 30 years before that, right? So it's like a couple of years. It's really nothing when logically thinking. Like 2 years is like nothing. You go by so quickly. Just some emotion. So it's like, oh no, this is happening again. This is happening again.
Absolutely. No, for sure. I know it will. This is definitely not easy. There's nothing easy about it, but it helps, and it's going to make a huge difference. And while you've obviously seen that yourself, you're just starting, basically, if you think about it.
Yeah, I think that thing, like you say, it's not easy, and I feel like a lot of people just starting therapy need to understand that it is not an easy process. I have friends that I have one friend, she started therapy, and then she actually make her feel worse. Like, yeah, it does. Like your first few sessions, like my first few sessions when I first started therapy, I feel terrible. I was like, because I have to be super vulnerable in what's going on, because in my mind, I know that I need to be vulnerable to not just work on a symptom, but work on a cause. And I think that's
Yeah.
because of my medical training, because we talk about, we look at the symptoms, but then we don't want to treat the symptoms. We want to treat the cause of the symptoms. The treating the symptom is a short term solution, but
Right.
when you fix the actual cause of it, that's the long term solution. And I understand that I need to
Yeah.
be super vulnerable. And like, I think for the first 2 or 3 sessions, I feel terrible. Like I was so vulnerable. I'm like, oh my god, I just opened the floodgate. Like this came out. Like I trauma dump on my first therapist. Like, bam, this is it. And then I feel the real. I was, oh man, I was so emotionally exhausted after. I'm just like, because I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't have said that. But I'm almost like, I'm paying for this person to heal me. So yeah, this is happening.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I
And
know.
now with the third therapist, I just tell her what's going on, and it almost becomes easy the more you talk about like what's going on. It almost becomes easy. It's not as burden anymore. Like the more you talk about it, it becomes like, yeah, this is me. It's like if you have a broken finger, yeah, I broke my finger. Like there's no shame about it. It is it's what happened to you.
Yeah.
It was like a some kind of accident. And sometimes trauma is almost like that. You didn't cause the trauma. It just happened to you, and there's no shame of it.
No,
And I think,
absolutely not.
yeah, and I think for the longest time that's why it took me so long to look at a therapist, because I think because of the culture, there's a bit of a shame of it as well. But eventually,
Right.
I came to the point like I cannot do this by myself anymore. Like I cannot continue to rely on friends that have similar situation, because they are not improving, and I reached like the plateau of what I can do. I need someone that's more educated in this situation to be able to kind of
Yeah.
continue to go upward.
Yeah, for sure. So, what from the point that now that when you're realizing, or you realize what's happening with you,
Mm-hmm.
like what was going on, to today with the multiple therapists and your current one, and everything you've learned, what is the one thing that you've come to understand about it, like that has been the most helpful of all of everything?
May I have you just clarify the question?
Okay, of everything that's happened, so
Mm-hmm.
you learn that you're suffering from trauma, and you've got this inner child, and then
Yeah.
you've obtained the help from the
Mm-hmm.
therapist, and you've talked to friends and everybody about it, and you've learned about this. What's the one thing out of everything that you've learned that you've realized is so important, or that is the most, like, that stands out, like, to you?
Most down to, I guess. Oh, that's really hard to answer, because there's been so many things I've learned over the years. I think one thing is almost like being really aware of who you are. Kind of ask yourself. I mean, I'm capable of this. Like sometimes I can look at myself from like, almost like a third party like perspective. Be like, okay, this is Edward. Edward's going through this. Why is Edward doing this? Then I can kind of analyze myself a little bit when I'm not really thinking of my emotional self.
Okay.
And I think from another aspect that when I'm every time I think when I was younger, there's a fear of being vulnerable will make me look weak amongst in people's eyes, especially I think as men, there's a lot of
Right.
pressure of society. Oh, you gotta be strong. Oh, you gotta be
Yeah.
sad. But
Yeah.
then I to talk to other men that have same situation, like even when I'm open up, like nobody shame me for it. People's like, oh, this really brave, or like that. It took a lot of courage to talk about, and I think that in itself really helps. That man can be upset. So, and then
Absolutely.
again,
Yeah.
women have the same woman. Oh no, woman. Oh, yo, woman, you cannot be angry. And then it's like no. At the end of the day, I don't. I try not to use gender pronouns. I just like we're just people. We're humans. We have emotions,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, some of us have really bad stuff happen to us, and we need to heal from it.
Yeah.
Because I
Totally.
mean,
Yeah.
because like I don't. I mean, I remember in the pattern. I'm just like I'm in a plateau, but I cannot continue to live like this. I cannot live with these horrible feelings in my chest all the time, not feeling good enough, always, try to be perfect or, volunteering and working all the time just so I can ignore the issues. It's not, eventually I can see myself down the line. Eventually I'll burn out. And then when I collapse from that, it's going to be so much worse because then I won't, and then I'm not able to pick myself back up. And that's my fear, that I'll burn out, then I'll drop. Then like right now, I might have a drop. I can pick myself back up. Slowly, but I still pick myself back up. But eventually, then when I don't pick up, I would pick myself back up. Then what now?
Yeah.
And I don't like that future. And I kind of want to stop that future from happening. And kind of like the past is the past.
Yeah.
But my future, in a way, is in my control, and I can kind of shape it the way I am.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it, and that's you don't want to have a future where you're still scared and you're still triggered. You want to be able to face the unknowns, the challenges of life, and know how to handle it. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, just that fear of like burning out and just nobody to pick myself back up. It's so scary because but it's not positive. I want to have a positive future.
Absolutely. Okay. So for others who are dealing with this, and I know that everybody has their own levels of extreme or amount of trauma that they've experienced, what would be something that you would want to like to say to others who are dealing with this that would be helpful? Because we're all going through it in a different way, and we've had our own kinds of trauma, and everybody's got a unique situation, unfortunately. So what would be something that you would suggest or recommend, or even for advice, just to help in their own journey?
I would say that if you're able to find somebody that's in the situation, there's a really good chance that they don't mind listening to you about it. But at the same time, you also want to respect their boundary a little bit, because I have friends that talk to you but sometimes without the way I do it, I have what I call my support circle. I kind of do rounds. I don't go to everyone at once. I kind of go through, like, if you're my circle, I'll talk to you one day. Okay, I talk to him now. I cannot do that again tomorrow because that's too much. Like I cannot do that to myself. So I make sure I talk to another person about it so nobody would just be like, oh, Edward, oh, it's Edward again. Oh, he's struggling again. I don't, because that had happened to me before, where I had one person just continue going to me all the time. It's like, I care about you, but like I need a break because it's just day after day. To make sure you have people that you will listen. Get a feel of them. Just even on Twitter, I found the Twitter online community they've been so helpful because everyone have similar trauma or their feelings, and then they can really make you feel less alone. And I think that's the biggest one, is that when you feel less alone, you feel less. What's that word I'm looking for? Less less of a burden, I guess, even to yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. I think because as human, we want to belong in a community or people that kind of understand us, and I think that's the worst feeling. Because when I first started, I thought nobody understand what I'm going through. But I talk to other people, it's like, okay, this guy has similar problem. Oh yeah, he has family dynamics similar to mine. So I can talk to him about it, because he's much further down the healing journey than I am. So you can talk to him about what helps, and it's what help. Then again, I also want to clarify that what helps another person might not help you, because every treatment is different. It's all based on circumstances, right? I also want to make sure to put that out there. But that's just my medical training, just kicking into the light. What treatment for you? Not going to work for this guy. It might work, but it might not. So you have to be really mindful about that.
Yeah.
That's one thing about peace report that I mentioned, that we never talk about treatments. You just listen, and then if they ask about what helped me, then it can be like, this will help me. It might not help you, but But since you ask, I'll tell you what has helped me.
Excellent. No, that's very
yeah.
sound. Yeah. And I totally agree with that. Good.
Yeah, listening.
Perfect. Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, Edward, thank you so much. This was really great of you to share your experiences with my audience and with myself here. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for the tip.
Oh, no problem. I want to help. I want to, any way I can, even if it's a small amount,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, excellent. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it so much. So, yeah, absolutely. Okay, everybody, that was Edward Ma. If you have any questions, let me know. But that's it for this episode. All right. Thank you, Edward, for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. That's it, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.